Hello guys, so we've gotten a lot of Dragon Age news the past few days, from the companion reveal trailer to information about the character creator and the areas we'll be visiting to straight up gameplay. Honestly, every single thing that Bioware has shown us ever since the Xbox trailer has only made me more excited, and now that I've had some time to process it all and gather my thoughts, I want to do a full deep dive into everything we saw and all of my thoughts on it. I also want to mention real quick that I recently reached 5,000 subscribers, so I want to thank everyone that has been subscribing to me in the past few weeks, as well as everyone else that watches my videos and everyone that's been here for the past 2.5 years my channel has existed. I appreciate every single one of you, and your support means a lot to me. More about this in a future video, but for now, there is a lot to go over, so grab yourself some sweet red lyrium tea and let's jump straight in. Okay, before I start, small disclaimer here. New information about the game is coming out at such a rapid pace that I struggle to keep up with it at times. This is like the third time I'm changing this script, so I'm gonna do my best to include everything we know so far, but there will likely be things that I missed or got wrong, and I apologize for that. If there is anything I missed, definitely let me know in the comments and I can see if I can include it in my next video. Also, if there is any specific topic you're interested in, there will be timestamps down below, as always. Alright, let's start off with the companion reveal trailer. So, my first impressions. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, as I'm sure you've seen plenty of reactions on it the past few days, and mine is probably not going to be very special. Plus, now that we've seen so much more of the game itself and the gameplay reveal, it's not all that relevant anymore, honestly. But for those of you that are curious, I liked the reveal trailer, but my initial reaction was similar to probably that of a lot of you. The art style and the tone of the trailer were not what I expected. I had expected the tone to be a little more serious, similar to what we've seen in the past. I was also a bit surprised by the choice of music at first, but looking back at older trailers for the previous games, this is not the first time they've used popular songs like this one. And as many have already said, at the end of the day, it is just a trailer. It's just marketing. I feel like the tone of it was probably chosen to appeal to a wider audience. Now we know that the trailer wasn't a proper representation of the actual game, so with all of this said, let's talk about the part that actually interested me. The contents of the trailer, of which there is a lot. I'm gonna try to be as thorough as possible and share all my thoughts, but I'm pretty sure there will be things that I missed, so feel free to leave a comment and point out anything I missed. So the trailer starts with this beautiful shot of the docks in Minrathous. We know now that this place is called Docktown and that it is home to Detective Nev Gallus, one of our future companions. So after that, we see the shot of what seems to be a group of guards or perhaps agents of some sort of new faction getting ready to attack none other than Varric and Scout Harding. What immediately stands out to me is that one of the guards is holding what seems to be a red lyrium sword, so I wonder if red lyrium is somehow going to be tied to this group, whatever they may be. I mean, they're all wearing the same kind of armor or uniform, so they're definitely part of an organization or whatever group guards this place. As we see our two favorite dwarves fighting off these guys, we can see that they're in a bar, I'm fairly certain somewhere in Tevinter, and we hear them talk about how it's going to take more than just the two of them to pull this off. And this is where our companions get introduced. Before I go into the companions, I do want to quickly point out that for anyone that's missed it, Varric is wearing an Inquisition belt buckle, and I think that is just super sweet. So the first companion is, of course, Scout Harding, who we know from Dragon Age Inquisition. I feel like most of us already kind of expected Harding to come back, not only because she was a fan favorite, but also because she was there in the last Trespasser cutscene, the one where the Inquisitor stabs the map. You know the one. So this was not a total surprise, but still very happy to see it actually being confirmed. And oh my god, she looks so great, and look at her freckles, I love it! The next companion is someone that some of us already kind of expected or hoped would be a companion, and that is Nev Gallus, the detective. If you've read Tevinter Nights, you'll know her from the story The Streets of Minrathous, and she is also in the latest Dragon Age comic The Missing, which released last year. She is a mage with ice powers, and she has a very cool looking prosthetic leg. That's all I got to say about her for now, apart from she looks very fabulous, and I loved her voice in the gameplay reveal. Also, what you got there, Niv? What is that in your hand? What is that? Fine, keep your secrets. The next companion is also someone we've seen before, from the Tevinter Nights story The Wigmaker Job and the short story The Wake, Lucanis de la Morte. a member of the Antivan Crows, and in the trailer he is titled the Mage Killer. Something I will mention briefly for now and will come back to later is that in the trailer we can see this specific wing symbol on his back, as well as some tiny vials he is carrying here. They seem to be filled with some sort of purple liquid, which could be poison, I guess, but they might be related to what I'm going to talk about later. Also very curious as to what his story is, since he is supposed to be dead according to the short story. So either he faked his death, or there is something really strange going on here. After Lucanus, we get this beautiful shot of some elven ruins. And since BioWare have since confirmed that we'll be going to the Arlathon Forest, it is quite possible that that's where this is. So this is where we meet Balara, the Veil Jumper, jumping out of what seems to be a Fate Rift, and being dragged back into it by these terrifying looking tendrils, which, after the gameplay reveal, I think I know where, or rather who these might belong to. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So Balara, love her design, love her scarf, all of the triangle stuff, very interesting as there's possibly a connection between the Veil Jumpers and the Executors. Something that caught my attention immediately when I watched this for the first time is that she is carrying some weirdly shaped golden artifact. My guess is that this is the Crucius Stone from the Missing comic, an elven artifact hidden in the Arlathon Forest, said to have the power to bring down Tevinter. This would make total sense since the area looks like it could be the Arlathon Forest, and in The Missing we learned that a group of Veil Jumpers was actually looking for it, though in the comic Solus has already taken it. Which makes me wonder, when does this scene take place? If Solus is supposed to have it, why does Balara have it? Does Solus find it after Balara takes it? Cause if you look closely, she does actually drop the artifact as she gets dragged back in. Or maybe I'm completely wrong and this isn't the Crucius Stone at all. I might be looking too much into this. Let's move on to the next companion. So next up we have Emmerich, the Necromancer. So originally I had written this whole bit about how one of his hands has a different color and even looks a bit bloated. So I wondered if that was some sort of curse or it was somehow decaying and all sorts of crazy theories, but no, it's just a glove, so never mind. Not sure what else to say about Emmerich for now, apart from that he's part of the Mortalitasi, and we've seen him in Tevinter Nights, in the story Down Among the Dead Men, and the short story The Flame Eternal. He looks like a cool dude that I cannot wait to meet. Oh, and of course I have to mention, look, it's the Skelly Boy! He is called Manfred! The next companion I am also pretty excited about, Devrin the Grey Warden. So Devrin is an elf, and as we can clearly see, he actually has a Valasline. So that means he was a Dalish elf before he became a warden. So I'm really curious about how he ended up with the wardens. Like, did he specifically choose to leave his clan and join the wardens? Did something happen to his clan? Also, speaking of his Valasline, this is a design we haven't seen before in any of the other games. So either this is a new kind of Valasline or just a different variant. We know nothing about him or his clan yet, so it's definitely possible that his clan just uses different design for their Valasline. Of course, it could just be a case of BioWare decided to change the designs for the Valasline, but I think I'm gonna go with each clan uses a different style, because I like that headcanon. Also, as for which elven god this Valasline represents, my guess would be Gillenan, as his design looks very similar to the Gillenan one from Inquisition. And look, we got a baby griffin! So I guess this confirms the griffins are back. Also, thanks to my friend Jackdaw for asking the most important question, we know that the griffin's name is Asan. And for those of you that don't know, Asan means arrow in Elven, and I think that's just adorable. Also, look at that cute little face. I just want to pet him now. I just want to give him hugs. Oh, and I just love his design. Look at that pattern on his forehead. It looks so pretty. Something else that stood out to me about Devrin is that the shield he is carrying seems to have the new Grey Warden logo. For those of you that haven't seen, the Grey Warden seem to have a new logo as seen in this piece of concept art and some of the new merch on the BioWare gear store. I'm not sure if this is a new design for the Grey Wardens as a whole, or maybe a different branch of the Wardens that just uses a different design, or, and this is just my theory, that Devrin is part of the group of the Wardens that split from Weishaupt. The end of Inquisition teases that there might be a war or rebellion going on among the Wardens, so it would make sense if this new group doesn't want to use the traditional designs as they want to differentiate themselves from the main Wardens. Okay, one last thing. Red Lyrium Darkspawn. That's not good. And last but not least, Tash, the Dragon Hunter. Again, a really cool character design. I like the emerald horn, at least I think that's emerald. And I love that Tash has a long braid. And I initially said that this gave me hope for the hairstyles we'll get in the character creation, but the devs have since confirmed that there are, and I quote, dozens and dozens of hairstyles, with individual strands of hair rendered separately and reacting quite remarkably to in-game physics. So, nice. Also, dual-wielding axes. That's badass. The rest of the trailer gives us a glimpse of Rook, our new player character and soon-to-be leader of our new group. Lastly, we get some quick shots of our group fighting off some seemingly red lyrium-infected darkspawn. Here we have Balara firing an arrow from her bow, which seems to be attached to her arm or coming out of it. My first thought was that this was some sort of prosthetic arm, but honestly, seeing all the floaty bits, it might just be some weird fate shenanigans. Or it might have something to do with her magic, since we have just recently learned that Balara is not a rogue, but a mage. Also, remember how I mentioned the wing symbol on Lucanus's back? Well look! Glowy wings! Historian Devinder Knights mentions that he does have some sort of connection with magic or the Fate in particular, so maybe that's related to the wings? Also, this might be a stretch, but maybe the small purple vials are related to it as well? Again though, might just be poison or something. I mean, he is a crow, so yeah. So as we watch our group fight off some red lyrium infected darkspawn, we see this absolutely massive dragon walk up behind them. And if you look closely, you can actually see the statues with the Evanuris symbols behind it. We can also see that this place seems to be blighted, especially on the right here. We can see some gross, fleshy looking blobs which looks almost exactly like the blighted areas we've seen in Dragon Age Origins. And on top of that, there is an eclipse in the background as well. My first guess was that this is actually the Black City, mainly because of the statues and because it is blighted, but also because this area looks very similar to the Dragon Age vinyl cover, which one side depicts the Golden City with a dragon looming over it and an eclipse in the background just like the trailer, and the other side of it is a very similar image with the Golden City turned black and the Evanuris faces around it. In the gameplay trailer, which I will go over in a few minutes, we do see Solus attempting his ritual in an area that also has those statues. Though I don't think it is said where exactly this is, just that it is his hideout, so I'm not sure if this is the same place that we see in the reveal trailer. Perhaps there is just multiple locations that have these same statues. So yeah, the reveal trailer definitely has some really exciting stuff, and especially after the gameplay and all of the information we've been given, I'm just really excited to play this game, and I'm honestly not that bothered about the tone of the trailer anymore. Yes, the tone was a little off, but looking purely at the contents of the trailer, I've really got nothing to complain about. Before we take a look at the gameplay trailer, I want to go over some very juicy bits of information that BioWare has since shared with us through their own socials, as well as lots and lots of articles. I'm not going to be able to cover entire articles, or else this video will go on forever and ever, so I've just picked out some of the most interesting bits and I'll read those out to you and share my own thoughts on it. Starting off with some of the bits that were shared on the Dragon Age YouTube channel in their chat while waiting for the gameplay reveal to premiere, I'm just gonna start with the thing that made me the most excited. During the character creation process, you will be able to customize your Inquisitor from the last game's story, and make a few key decisions that will impact how the Veilguard begins. So yes, the Inquisitor is actually confirmed. I was already kind of half expecting it. I mean, I've said it a million times by now, but the Inquisitor has to be there. Their story is so connected to Solus, whether you're his friend, lover, or rival, it wouldn't make sense for the Inquisitor not to be there. And we're going to be able to customize them at the start of the game. Holy shit! I also have a good feeling about how accurate we're going to be able to be when we recreate them, since the game, at least to me, looks a lot like Inquisition, just a lot prettier. Man, I think I'm almost more excited for recreating my Inquisitor than I am for creating my Rook. You will get to pick your faction when you create your character. And they only list a few here, but it has since been revealed that we're going to be able to pick from the Grey Wardens, Veil Jumpers, Shadow Dragons, the Lords of Fortune, the Mornwatch, and the Antivan Crows. Some of the other things they shared is that we'll be going to the Deep Roads, that our choices will influence the world of Thedas as well as our relationships with our companions, and that there are lots of hairstyle options. Going into some of the articles then, again, lots of great information here, but I'm only going to cover the things that I think are the most interesting, and I'll be jumping back and forth between articles a lot as I want to go from topic to topic. But I will have every quote on screen with the name of the article it is from, and I will also link all the articles I could find in the description as they're definitely worth a read. So this is what was said regarding our Inquisitor and our choices in the previous games. In an interview with IGN, Dragon Age the Veilguard game director Corinne Bush says the ability to import your choices is fully integrated into the character creator this time around. What's more, Bush confirmed that you'll be able to customize your Inquisitor if you want to remake your protagonist from Dragon Age Inquisition. What's not lost on us is that it's been 10 years since existing players have played. They might not remember what they did in the previous games, Bush explains. They might need that refresher, and we don't want new players to feel like they're missing out on those decisions. So in the character creator, I like to call it Last Time on Dragon Age, you can go into your past adventures, and it actually through tarot cards tells you what the context was and what decision you want to make. So this means they are stepping away from using the Dragon Age Keep. Not something I was expecting, but I totally understand why they have chosen to do this, and I agree it's probably a good decision. Not only will they not have to deal with the upkeep of the Dragon Age Keep website, but it's also easier for us players that everything is in-game, and we won't have to deal with going to another website and importing our world state and all the issues that come with it if the website isn't working properly. I also love that they're sticking with a tarot card style for this because it is just gorgeous. Since Corinne mentioned the previous games, plural, I wonder which choices we will be seeing and how detailed it will be. For Dragon Age Origins and 2, I'm guessing it's at least going to be the bigger choices, like who were the previous heroes, who did we romance, who's the ruler of Ferelden, etc. But I wonder how many of the smaller choices will be carried over. Like, will the architect be brought up? Are we going to be able to tell it Dorian and the Iron Bull got together in Inquisition? On the character creator, we have the following information. BioWare's work behind the scenes, meanwhile, goes as deep as not only skin tones, but skin undertones, melanin levels, and the way skin reacts differently to light. Speaking of, there are also a range of lighting options within the character creator to check how your character looks, which sounds inconsequential, but as anyone who left that first oddly green cave of Dragon Age Inquisition to find their once handsome character transformed into a walking horror in the natural light of the overworld will know, makes a difference. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that will be lighting options in the character creator, as many people have struggled with the lighting of the character creators in the past, myself included. You spend ages on creating a good looking character and then you enter the first cutscene and you're like, oh my god, what have I created? There is also a full range of full body customization options, like a triangular slider between body types and individual settings down to everything from shoulder width to glute volume. Alright, if you had asked me a few months ago, do I think the next Dragon Age will have body sliders? I would have said no. I did not expect them to give us body sliders due to the complexity it will bring with all the different races we can play, but this makes me so happy to hear. We have dozens and dozens of hairstyles, she said, and now they're fully affected by physics. The quality and variety of choices I saw delighted me. The rows of bouncy, luxurious-looking hair of all curl types and textures. Yes, looks like we finally got some good curl hairstyles! Fun fact, Dragon Age lives in my head rent-free, so I had already designed my character for the next game years ago, and she actually has curls, so this makes me really happy. If a large list of customization sliders overwhelms you, there are character presets for all 4 of the game's races: Human, Elf, Qunari, and Dwarf. After that, it's time to choose a Warrior, Mage, or Rogue as a starting class, the specialization within that class, and a faction background for your character. So it is confirmed that we will still be choosing between the 3 main classes at the start of the game. Now, in the gameplay trailer, we did see the Rook that they showed off use some sort of magical ability as a rogue, so who knows what's gonna happen with the veil being torn open. Faction affects a bunch of things, Epler tells me. Certain conversation options are only available to you, so Grey Wardens, for example, get conversation options that are focused on the Blight. They know more about it than other people. It also affects how people talk to you, so you'll get reactivity from characters and then faction reactivity from plots related to that faction. This is great to hear. Sounds like it will certainly be a step up from Inquisition, where I had Morgan explain to my Dalish Inquisitor who Mythal is. Like, Morgan, look at me. Can you not see that I am an elf? Do you not see the Valicine on my face? Beyond that, the 3 standard classes of Warrior, Mage, and Rogue return, but within those are 3 more specializations each, such as Duelist, Saboteur, or Veil Ranger for the Rogue. Then there is plenty of playstyle settings that include custom, distinct difficulty settings for options as granular as parry windows. That means players who might fancy that playstyle but typically struggle with the finer points of combat can give it a go. So it seems like we're going to be able to customize the difficulty, always nice. On the combat, the devs have said, the mechanics of that combat involve a mix of real-time action and the series staple pause and play mechanic. Pausing in this case brings up a radial menu split into 3 sections. Companions to the left and right, and your skills around the bottom, along with a targeting system at the top for getting them to focus on certain enemies in particular. This overlaps with a system of specific enemy resistances and weaknesses, and an apparently vast, but for us still unseen skill tree of unlockable options. You can, Bush explained, set up specific companions with certain kits, from tackling specific enemy types to being more of a supporting healer, with the return of the much requested healing magic, or flexible all-rounders. Abilities themselves, meanwhile, can chain together, Bush said, with some apparently elaborate results. The example given was one companion using a kind of gravity well attack that sucked enemies together, another using a slow that kept them all in place, and you unleashing a big area of effect attack to catch them all at once. So it seems like we are not going to be able to control our companions directly, which I'm still not really a fan of, and I hope the AI is a little bit smarter in terms of positioning as compared to Inquisition and Mass Effect Andromeda, because I remember being quite frustrated with that at times. As for the gameplay itself, it looks quite smooth. I think it already looks better than Inquisition's gameplay, so I think I'm not mad about the direction they're taking. I mean, I very much prefer the slower tactical approach of combat, especially after Baldur's Gate 3, but this pivot to more action-oriented combat really doesn't surprise me as much, as I was already kind of expecting it after Inquisition, so I guess that's why it doesn't really bother me as much. Again though, we'll have to wait and see what it actually feels like to play before I can fully judge it. On the overall tone of the game, creative director John Epler has said this. It's a stronger style, creative director John Epler tells me when I ask about the game's art direction, but it's very much in keeping with the rest of Dragon Age. It's not a massive departure. It's recognizably Dragon Age, and particularly because we're going into parts of the world like Tevinter, you see more magic, more color. There is a little bit more vibrancy here. But there is also, as with anything, a lot of darkness. And the thing about darkness, especially the dark parts of the game, those often contain the biggest spoilers. Contrast is what allows darkness to really breathe, and something that Dragon Age has had historically, and I've been on the franchise pretty much since Dragon Age Origins, Epler continues, when everything is dark, nothing really feels dark. For this one, we really wanted to build that contrast again. And indeed, before long, things take quite a dramatic turn towards the type of city-razing action that would typically occur in Dragon Age late game, as Minrathous comes under attack. Yeah, I definitely agree here, there needs to be a balance. I like the dark fantasy, and I love happy moments, but having too much of either one makes those moments not as impactful. We need the dark moments to appreciate the happy moments when we get them, and we need the happy moments to feel the impact of the dark moments. About the scope of the game, Corinne Bush shares, yeah, so it is a mission-based game. Everything is hand-touched, handcrafted, very highly curated, echoing a talking point that comes up repeatedly throughout the presentation. We believe that's how we get the best narrative experience, the best moment-to-moment experience. However, along the way, these levels that we go to do open up. Some of them have more exploration than others. Alternate branching paths, mysteries, secrets, and optional content that you're going to find and solve. So it does open up, but it is a mission-based, highly curated game. Pressing for more details on the side quests and optional content, Bush says, some of them are highly curated, especially when it involves the motivations and the experiences of the companions. You're really along on this journey with them. Others, you're investigating a missing family, and the entirety of this bog is open to you. You're searching for clues, finding a way to solve their disappearance. So it's not really a one-size-fits-all solution, but I do want to emphasize that handcrafted and curated is our approach. So if you've been following my channel for a while, you know that this is something I actually really wanted, and I actually made a whole video about this a while ago. Inquisition is my favorite game in the franchise, but its massive open world areas was something that I was not always a fan of. Those massive areas can just get really overwhelming. Despite the fact that I love to explore and love finding and reading all the codex entries, those fetch quests, they become really boring after doing it, well, even the first time around, really. So I'm really glad they're taking this approach. This was actually one of the things that was on my wish list for Dragon Age. I was about to say Dragon Age Dreadwolf there. Dragon Age the Veilguard. On Companions and Romance, Corinne Bush and John Epler shared the following information. Rather than player sexual, Bush insists that they're all specifically pansexual, and that might come through in what you learn about their backstories. Their past experiences or partners, they'll reference them, and indeed who they'll become romantic with, Bush tells IGN. For instance, we saw Harding. I might be playing a straight male character flirting with her, but I choose not to pursue a romance. She might get together with Tash. So my perception, my identity, has no bearing on their identities, and that comes through really strongly. In Dragon Age games, BioWare games, romance is a core part, Epler said. We wanted to give each character their own flavor, or their own style of romance. Some characters may be a little more steamy, while other characters may be a little more innocent. But for each one, you can build these relationships. And what's interesting in this game is, if you don't romance characters, they may decide to find their own romances for themselves, whether within the team or within the world itself. It's reminiscent somewhat of how Shepard could walk in on Garrus and Tali locked in a kiss towards the end of Mass Effect 3, but only if you had chosen not to show romantic interest in either one beforehand. What sounds like another improvement from previous BioWare games is how a character's romance arc will be better woven into their personal story arc, and their involvement with the Veilguard's core questline. BioWare has also worked to ensure that getting to know your character as friends feels just as satisfying. And just because you're not banging your buddy, their platonic relationship with you will still continue. One of the things we try to do with the Veilguard is it's not just romantic relationship building, Epler continued. You need to get to know a person before you can really build that kind of relationship with them. And if you choose not to build a romantic relationship, we never want you to feel like you're being cut off. There is no, okay, well, their arc isn't progressing, I'm done. We want to make sure the non-romantic relationships are deep as well, with friendships not just for companions and yourself, but also between companions across the party. Honestly, it makes me so glad to hear that. While I love the romances in Dragon Age, I think the friendships between us and our companions are just as important as the romances, and it's great to hear that platonic relationships will be just as prominent as the romantic ones. There is still a few more bits of information I want to go over, but I'm just going to rapid fire those at you for the sake of time. Bush confirmed Dragon Age the Veilguard will have a photo mode. Nice! Hey, Lisa from the future here. I have to interrupt real quick. So yesterday during the Q&A session on BioWare's Discord, they said that photo mode actually isn't confirmed and that is something they're still looking into. They didn't really elaborate on it further, so my guess is that it's just something that changed during development. That or the article got it wrong. But that's all I know. I just wanted to let you know this. Sadly, I wasn't able to incorporate the Q&A in this video, but I do want to cover it later, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, back to the video. Honestly, with all of these things that we've learned, it's just my wishlist for this game, everything is getting ticked off one by one. Like, I expected some improvements, but not as much as we're seemingly getting. I feel like BioWare heard our feedback and has actually done something with it, so that is really great to hear. It reminds me nothing so much as Mass Effect 2, with the Lighthouse, the Veilguard's equivalent of Skyhold, standing in for the Normandy. So I guess the Lighthouse will be our home base, and I'm really hoping we're gonna be able to customize and upgrade it in some way. Regarding returning characters, when pressed further about if all of the previous characters would be woven into the Veilguard like Hawke, Bush says, I won't say everybody, but yes, some of them. For what it's worth, there is plenty of nods to longtime fans, including the return of Varric, who Bush calls the franchise's Obi-Wan Kenobi, along with some killer cameos. Okay, what do you mean by that, Corinne? What does that mean? God, Varric is going to die, isn't he? Asked whether the Veilguard will feature permadeath, she teases, I don't want to get into spoilers, but you just might lose some characters. Now in what we saw there, obviously no one died. In a situation like that, they can get injured. They can influence how they think about you. If they are ready to hit the field with you, it does get more dangerous. We might lose some people along the way. Alright, now I'm excited, and also very, very nervous. The gameplay reveal. So while I do want to do a full proper deep dive on the gameplay trailer, this video is already super long and I don't want this to take me ages to release, so I think I'm just gonna have to save the full deep dive for a later video, and instead I will just give you a summary of my thoughts on it. So from what they've shown us, I think the game looks absolutely stunning. Minrathous looks beautiful, and the combination between the gothic and cyberpunk-like style with all the magical floating buildings and the neon lights is so up my alley. What also stood out to me is the amount of NPCs we see in the city at the beginning of the reveal. They all seem to be actually doing things and talking and interacting with each other rather than just standing around. And it seems we are able to interact with one of them as well, so this gives me hope that the areas, or at least Minrathous, will feel like a real bustling city that people actually live in. I was kind of surprised at how fast it gets so wild, like we are thrown into the action immediately. I already commented on the gameplay. It looks kind of similar to Mass Effect gameplay, but it looks smooth and fast-paced, and not as clunky as Inquisition's gameplay. Again, not a fan of not being able to control companions, but that's something I'll have to get used to. I think what got me hyped the most during this gameplay reveal is that we actually get to see Solus so early on. And Varric, in typical fashion, after everything, still tries to talk his friend down from destroying the Veil, and like, I fucking love that. Especially because this was my wish for the missing comic. I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but fine, okay, real quick. For those of you that have read The Missing, my whole frustration with that was its ending where Varric suddenly realized, I guess we need to find someone that Solus doesn't know. And like, you already knew this, Varric. I know you're getting old, but come on. And Harding doesn't even have an excuse. She was in the room when the Inquisitor said this. Anyway, if I could change anything about The Missing, I would make it about Varric knowing that they have to find someone Solus doesn't know, and that is why they are looking for people to recruit. But during their journey, they just so happen to find out that they're actually getting close to Solus, and that's where Varric decides he kind of wants to go after Solus to try and talk him down, as it would highlight Varric's internal struggle with desperately wanting to save his friend from himself, while knowing it is likely not going to work, but being too stubborn to give up. This was my wish for the Missing comic, and I think it would have made so much more sense if they had done this. And that's why I love this scene in the gameplay reveal so much, because it actually does show that Varric still cares about his friend, and how he just doesn't want to give up. It also shows Solus still cares about Varric. He could have easily turned him into stone there or yeeted him off the cliff, but he didn't. Killing Crossbow Bianca was a low blow though, I'll give you that. I also absolutely love that we are the ones that mess it all up. Like, Solus knew what he was doing the whole time, and for years we speculated whether or not Solus would succeed in taking down the Veil and what that would look like and how he was gonna handle the Elven gods. And now here we are just casually messing up Solus's 10-year plan to restore his people by tipping over a bunch of statues, and oopsie, I guess we accidentally freed 2 of the incredibly powerful and dangerous Elven gods. No biggie, right? Yeah, no, we fucked up. Speaking of the Elven gods, my guess is that the left one is Gilanon and the right one is Elgernon. As to why I think that, I'll probably go over that in my next video, as this video has already gone on for so long and my voice is starting to get tired, so I'll just start wrapping it up. So my overall closing thoughts. I'm just very, very excited, and it still feels kinda... it just still kind of doesn't feel real. Like, after almost 10 years of speculating, thinking about what this game could look like, we've finally seen it. And even after 10 years of theorizing, they've still managed to surprise me. All I'm waiting for now is the exact release date, though even the release window pleasantly surprised me. Assuming that there are no delays, we're getting this game this year in fall, and that's only a few months away. It's still crazy to think that we'll actually be playing this game in only a few months. I'm hoping November, just cause it's my birthday in November, and being able to play Dragon Age would be the perfect birthday gift for myself. Also, November marks the 10-year anniversary of Inquisition, so it would be cool if Veilguard releases exactly 10 years after Inquisition. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling now. Again, I'm pretty sure there are things that I missed, and I apologize for that, but there is just so much info coming out, and it is just hard to keep up with it all. I'll try to cover everything I missed in future videos. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, let me know by liking this video. Or leave a comment and let me know what you are the most excited about in Dragon Age Veilguard. Who is your rook going to be? Who are you going to romance? Is there anything I missed? Please let me know. If you want to support the channel, check out my Patreon, or join my Discord server and let's continue the Dragon Age Veilguard hype there. That's it for now though. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.